Hello and welcome to Mandobug Crafts, episode 125, live. What's up, everybody? My name's Amanda, but you may know me on the internet as Mandobug, and this is my crafty podcast where I share the things that I've been making since the last time I recorded a podcast, which in today's video will be crochet, a little bit of knit, and then some crochet design talk. So if you're joining me live, go ahead and say good morning, afternoon, or good evening for yourself in the comments. And we will start out with something I've learned. So it looks like Lacey is joining us. Happy Halloween Eve. I know it is. I'm so excited. What are your guys' plans for Halloween this year? Are you going to do trick-or-treating as safe as possible? Are you going to be watching videos? What are your plans? Do you have a costume? What are you going to be for Halloween? Let me know. And Tina, hey Lacey, hey, yay Halloween. Good morning, Tina. And yes, I'm so excited for Halloween. I'm still working on a lot of Halloween inspired projects, so that's what I'm going to be sharing today. So starting out with something I've learned, I learned how to do overlay mosaic crochet. It's just something that I hadn't gotten around to learning yet, and it is addictive. It is so addictive. If you have not tried overlay mosaic crochet, because there are two different types. There's inlay mosaic crochet and overlay mosaic crochet, and they both are just a little bit different in their own ways. I did watch the inlay video just to get an idea of, do I have to say overlay? Is there a difference? Yes, there is. From what I saw with the inlay, you're using double crochets and instead of the single crochets. And so or maybe it was that it was 2 rows. I might have already messed that up because I haven't done it. With overlay mosaic crochet, you do 1 row of a color at a time. And with inlay, I believe you do 2. So you have less ends to weave in, but it makes it taller, which is, I think, why my mind was going to double crochet. But anyways, I did overlay mosaic crochet, and this finished object is amazing. So moving into finished objects, I made the Snowflakes mosaic by Sixel Design, and her original pattern is for a throw pillow. Hi, Max. I got Max laying down next to me. It's for a throw pillow, but I went ahead and followed her instructions to put the design in the round, and then I turned it into a cowl. The only thing about what I did was I was a little confused about how she had the repeat in her chart. Instead of being a straight set of repeats up and down, there was a part in the middle where the repeat shifted to the side, and I didn't follow it that way. I took that out and I just followed the 18. I didn't mean to give away the stitch count, but I followed the mosaic part straight up and down for the snowflake repeat. I don't think saying the stitch number really gives away the pattern too much. This is a pay for pattern, so I don't want to give away the pattern, but here it is. Oh, didn't this just turn out lovely? So I did 6 repeats around for the cowl, and I repeated the chart twice. So I got 2 rows of snowflakes there. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. So the yarn that I used was a yarn that I got from Gamer Crafting in their Trick or Treat Level Up box this year. It was a ethereal inspired box. And well, I'll go ahead and show you the yarn because I have some leftovers. The box came with this bag, and that was kind of the inspiration for the colorway. And it was called If You've Got It, Haunt It. And I still have a ton left over. So, because it was a 2 hank box, and it also came with a mini skein and other several goodies. I bought their winter box, so I'm super excited to get that too. So I used just over half of a hank of this yarn, which is 100% BFL DK weight yarn. And I still have a whole nother cake left over. Unfortunately, I am almost out of the other color I used, which is Haiku Tiara, which is getting super blown out by my lights here. But it is a white yarn. It's an acrylic, wool, nylon, mohair blend. And it's got sequins and beads in it that are kind of this white iridescent and light blue. So, and this yarn is discontinued and I can't get any more. So I thought I would have enough possibly to make a matching hat. Unfortunately, I do not. So cowl it is, and this will have to be saved for another project, I guess. I really think that I would like to make more snowflakes with it, but I'd have to use a different white yarn. And I think it would be just enough different that I wouldn't be able to make a matching set. Because I do have plain white DK yarn and stash. I have a wool nylon blend, but it will be so white in contrast to this tiara that I don't think the set will match very well. So outside of the pattern, I did a single crochet border in the blue, and then I went back and I did 2 rows of slip stitches in the back loop only with the white to give it just a simple border. Now it is still damp a little bit because I went ahead and blocked it. Since that BFL is wool, I knew that it would like to relax, and so it's still a little damp, but I'll go ahead and throw it on just so you can see kind of the fit, and then I can catch up on chat as well. And actually, let me go ahead and adjust the camera down just a little bit. You might even be able to see Max. Maybe not, though. Hi, Max. All right. Hi, Mocha. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. And Tina said, you're going to set up a folding table by the sidewalk with a selection of goodie bags, but I'm going to sit up on the front porch, socially distant candy giving. That's such a great plan. I love that. I'm going to set up a bowl. Lacey, love your cowl. Thank you so much, Lacey. I really like the way that it worked up. And because it is a bigger circumference than I would typically make a cowl, but it worked up that way because of the size of the snowflakes, I think cutting out a snowflake would be just a little too tight for me. So I left it in and went a little taller. I think 3 snowflakes would have maybe been 3 snowflakes tall would have been maybe too much bulk here. And also I wouldn't have had enough yarn to do that. But with something like this, you can kind of fold it in to keep the warmth there and you can still see the snowflakes. So I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. Tina said, pretty. Thank you so much. Halloween. We are going to a haunted house tonight. Oh my gosh, Lacey, have so much fun. I get scared. I love everything Halloween, but I don't like to get scared. And I get scared really easy. I don't like being chased by chainsaws, which is what happens at the best haunted houses. You get spooked and you get chased. I don't like it. I don't like that feeling. I just like looking at everything that's spooky and scary and gory. Lori, have a great live on my way to herding. Thanks for stopping by, Lori. Have fun at your herding today. Good morning, Catherine. I am feeling good. I have been still feeling back to my normal self. Hopefully things stay that way. I've got follow-up appointments next week. So hopefully we'll be able to maybe run some more tests and just maybe it'll never come back. All right, so that is the overlay mosaic crochet. I did want to show you guys the wrong side too, because this is really cool. Also, Sixel Design. Well, Max, be careful. Sixel Design also has most of her overlay mosaic crochet patterns are for throw pillows. They're set up for that with kind of instructions on how you can modify that. But she does have some fingerless mitts you can make that have skulls up the front of them, which is super cute. Which all of that to say, this is what it looks like on the wrong side. So you're getting that color work by working only 1 row of a color at a time. And so this is what the wrong side looks like. It's all single crochets. If this was not in the mosaic pattern, but on the right side, it's just stripes of single crochet. And I was able to not worry about any ends because I carried the yarn up on the inside. You can see that kind of, it almost looks like a whip stitch seam there. And it's just from picking up the color for the next row and slip stitching and pulling it tightly. But it was really simple. It was really fun. It was really addicting. And I definitely want to make some more overlay mosaic crochet patterns. I got a Halloween bundle of hers, which the sale ends tomorrow. So if you want to pick up any of her Halloween mosaic crochet packs, they're 20% off through the end of October. So I picked up one of hers and I'll probably play around with that before I start going off and trying to design my own, because that's what I like to do. I learn a new technique and then I'm like, okay, how can I use this to make my own stuff? But yes, so that is the Snowflakes Mosaic by Sixel Design. I have one other finished object, and this one I wasn't even planning on making. It was just an all of the sudden kind of landed in my lap thing, I went up to the New Knittery, which is a yarn shop in Renton, Washington. I work there very, very part-time from home, writing their email newsletter. And I ordered some yarn and went to pick it up. And me and the owner, Marcy, got to chatting. And she was like, "Don't you have a knit pattern? We should have a sample in the shop." And I do. I have a knit hat called Birdfoot, and it is available from size newborn to adult 2X. So there's several sizes available. And so she it was really, really awesome, sweet, and fun for her 2-year anniversary. So this yarn shop used to be owned by someone else. I never met them and I don't remember their name, and it was called The Knittery. Well, when she bought the store, she rebranded it as The New Knittery because her last name is New. So it was the 2nd-year anniversary of her being open as The New Knittery, and she had Stardust Fiber Studio, which is a local yarn company around, indie yarn dyeing company in Washington. She had them dye each employee's favorite color, basically. And I think I've showed off Pumpkin Queen, and I will be showing it again later in this episode. But this is another one of those colorways. So this, I don't remember which employee picked out this color, but they named it Mystic Spruce. And it is exclusive to the New Knittery. And I knit up a Birdfoot beanie in the medium size. So I have actually only knit this in large. I don't know if I made David the large or the extra large. I think I made him the large. And then I made Jack the kid's size. I think it's called child. And so this was my first time knitting a medium. Now I remember when I graded this hat pattern, it is a set number of repeats, which is what really becomes tricky when you're grading patterns. You want to have a certain fit, but depending on the multiples of your repeat, there's only a certain range that you can hit. So I didn't have a problem because this pattern is so stretchy. It's a rib. I didn't have a problem meeting circumference, but I remember for the size medium, the length was very strange. 6 repeats was just too small. So I bumped up to 7. So it's kind of tall, and I'll go ahead and put it on and show you. So Birdfoot is a tight fitting beanie pattern. I designed it with men in mind. I designed it for David actually last year it was like a combo. It was supposed to be for Christmas, but I didn't finish it until Valentine's Day. So the pattern pictures are all pictures of him wearing it. But I wanted to show you, so the medium for me is just like, it becomes a little extra slouchy. It's a little too long. And if I was making this for myself, I would have cut out that extra repeat. It's really easy to do. You just do one less repeat before your crown decreases. But yeah, so this is the size medium. Catherine, I love the hat. Thank you so much. I really enjoy the stitch pattern. It's a fun one that uses slip stitches, and then you go back and you knit one below to pick them up. Kind of much like it's kind of like a broken in the sense that there's ribbing. It's like a ribbed lattice stitch, which I think is really pretty. Good morning, PJ. And hello, Isella. So yeah, I was just talking about the Birdfoot beanie, which I have available on my website and Ravelry. So this is actually a shop sample. This will be going to live at the New Knittery. She gave me the yarn and she paid me to knit it. So it is hers. I just have to go drop it off. What else? I've got my little notes here so I don't get lost. Moving on to works in progress. So if you guys follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you might have seen the reel or TikTok that I put up yesterday of this shawl pattern. There are so many ends in this. So I showed this off last week. I sketched up the design because I bought a Mace of Skeins Halloween box, which came with 5 50-gram skeins. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you guys, the yarn. I said it was an exclusive colorway from the New Knittery by Stardust Fiber Studios. This was their DK base, which they have very special names for each of their bases. So I don't have the specific name for the base, but it is their DK weight base. It's a DK weight pattern and hat. Sometimes I forget those little details. But anyways, so I got the Halloween Mesa Skeins box that came with 5 50-gram hanks of yarn. There is Shadow Cat, Witchy Business, which still shows up blue on my screen. I don't know why. It's purple. It's very, very purple. This is Cat Eye and Jack-o'-lantern and Monster Mash. So Monster Mash is not available, but these 4 are still available, sold individually on her website. I don't know how long she's offering up her Halloween and fall collection, but I do know that her collections are usually limited to the season. So I think the time is starting to run out on being able to order those. So I ordered the box, had no idea what to do with it, and I thought it would be fun to kind of play with color. And I sketched out a shallow triangle-shaped shawl. And I wanted to try to fade the colors together, but I didn't really think too much about it. And I ended up just kind of striping them together. So they don't fade, but they stripe. So I started with Shadow Cat, and I striped in Jack-o'-lantern, and then another stripe of Shadow Cat, and then another stripe of Jack-o'-lantern, another stripe of Shadow Cat, and then I worked Jack-o'-lantern. And I did the same thing. I brought that Shadow Cat back in between the colors. So I'm striping black in between these multiple colors as you go from one to the next, which doesn't fade them. It just kind of stripes them together with that black. So originally I thought I would fade. I ended up striping, but the whole thing is all those stripes created so many ends that I finally started weaving in. So you can see some of them are remaining. Every color change, because of all those black rows in between, was creating 6 ends on each side. And it's going to be over 80 ends that are created by the time I'm done striping like this. And I'm just thinking there must have been an easier way to avoid those ends. Like, instead of, because it is every row, I didn't want to do every 2 rows. That was just going to be too chunky. But what I probably could have done is, let's say this jack-o'-lantern left the end here, then joined the black here, and then carried it down, and then picked up the jack-o'-lantern, and then gone back. And then instead of turning, came back here and picked it up and worked across, like working 2 right side rows and then 2 wrong side rows. I probably could have done that to carry the colors, to not have so many ends. And I felt really silly about it after the fact. But I do really enjoy the way this shawl is working out. So this is fingering weight. I got the Halloween box on her club base, which is a superwash merino nylon blend. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and it's all double crochet. It's just double crochet with a very basic shallow asymmetric shape. You increase up until you get to the halfway point on your shawl. And on the edge that you are increasing, you then start decreasing your way back. So it will be mirrored in colorway. And I knew that I could get away with this shape if I weighed my yarn as I went. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite sure how much yarn I would need for these stripes, the black, because the black is at the beginning and then it's striped in between each changing color. I wasn't sure how much it would take when my rows got this long, because at the beginning, each black stripe in between the colors was taking about 2 grams of yarn, then 3, and then 4. I think I might not have enough black yarn to get all the way back to the end. If that's the case, I have other black yarn in stash. So when it comes time to do this final tip, if I run out of yarn on the other side, which based on my weighing, I will run out, I'm just going to join another black at the tip. Nobody's going to notice except for me. I do plan to write up this recipe style of just the basic shape and how many rows and how I striped it. So when I do that, if I run out of yarn, I will subtract rows to make sure that you don't run out of yarn. But I don't think that I'm going to release it as like a full pattern. It'll just be shared as like a recipe weigh your shawl and follow this shape type pattern. I've been calling it the 550 fade, but since it's not really faded, I might name it something else. 550 striped shawl. 550 because it's 5 50-gram hanks of fingering weight yarn to make the shawl. But I do love the colors. I think I like to wear my triangle shawls like this. So I do think it's going to be really fun by the time it's long enough for me to put it on. It's got all the colors kind of speckled together. And it was a fun way to use up the entire set because I didn't want it sitting in stash and I didn't know of any patterns that used up a 550-gram set. The other option was to make a cardigan out of it, but I didn't know that I would love this color in a cardigan. It's very busy for me for a sweater, so I thought it might be more appropriate for me for a shawl. Mocha says, weave in or crochet over as you go. I'd lose my mind otherwise. I did get that comment on my video when I posted it. I don't crochet over my ends anymore unless it's something like an amigurumi where it's super tight, dense stitches and you can tuck the tail into the inside, because several years ago, I crocheted an 8-bit blanket. So I crocheted these tiny little squares to make an 8-bit Kirby that was massive. I mean, this blanket took up my entire couch. It was for a friend. And because there were so many ends, I was crocheting over them. But after I finished the blanket, they started popping up. And it was acrylic yarn, which doesn't always nestle into itself very nicely. So I think it was just the fact that my gauge wasn't super tight because it was for a blanket, and the fact that it was acrylic yarn and they just started popping out all over the blanket, and I was horrified. Just ends everywhere. After that happened, I was like, I will not be crocheting over my ends anymore. They are working their way out. And like, for me as the maker of this blanket, it was embarrassing. It looked like I did a bad job. So I don't do that anymore unless it's a really tight gauge like amigurumi. But yeah, you do you though. If it works for you, maybe I am doing something wrong. It just doesn't work for me. I did get another comment from someone saying you can use a latch hook to do it. You take the latch hook and you weave it through your piece, you snag that in and you pull it through. I have yet to try that. I have like 10 latch hooks in my stash that I had got from my grandma. She used to do a lot of latch hook. So I'm going to give that a go. I just couldn't get to them yesterday, but I will give it a go and see how I like that. I like how it's working up. Thank you so much. I do too. It's a really fun pooling set of colorways, and this matches everybody. Yeah, I do like the way that it's working out. Lacey, I am just in love with this shawl. Thank you. Yeah, I did have someone be like, oh, what pattern is that? And I was like, oh, it's just one that I'm making up. You can see the black striping into the variegated here better because it's not as solid in the variegated. So if you were using if you were striping with a color that was not in your other colorways, you're going to have these 3 lines in between your colors. Hello, Ed. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Everybody's just kind of saying hi. So yeah, that is the 550 striped shawl, we'll call it. And it's really nice to have these mindless projects. Like I said, it's all double crochet. I just put a stitch marker on the edge that has the shaping because the other edge is flat. And this stitch marker is the one that came in the Halloween box. It is the Book of Spells stitch marker from Vic Knits, and I can't get it to stop dangling. But yeah, I've been really enjoying that. And of course, the Halloween box came with a project bag too, which is the perfect size for the shawl. So I've really been enjoying that. The 2 Halloween boxes that I got came with bags that the projects fit right inside. All right, the only other project I'm working on are the Witch's Brew socks, which is another design of mine. And I made a mistake. So you may notice that the sock is bad. This is not the second sock. This is the first sock all over again. I had to start all over again because I might have written it down. I couldn't find my notes. I designed these socks last Halloween using handspun, and I had the charts in my graph paper notebook, but I couldn't find where I had written down stitch counts. And I thought that I had used 48 stitches for the stitch count, and so I knit the sock all the way up to the chart using the 48 stitch count. It was a little bit looser than my handspun socks, but I thought that was because of the change in yarn. I was using handspun for my original. For this one, I'm using Mesa Skeins Heart Worsted, and it is a similar weight to my handspun. So that's why I thought maybe just the little bit of difference is making the sock a little bit bigger. It's because I was using the wrong stitch count. I got like a couple rows into the chart before I realized, wait, I should have less stitches because I didn't do the increases here. And that's when I realized I didn't do a 48 stitch for the foot. I did a 44 stitch for the foot, and I ripped it all out and started over. The bonus is this is worsted weight, so it's knitting up super quickly and they fit better. So it's going to be worth it, but it was frustrating to realize that and to rip it all out. But yeah, so I've just got my little toe. I do a Judy's Magic cast on and increase up. I've got a little witch hat motif right here. I go up in 2 needle sizes for my color work because you've got floats that can make your fabric really tight. So going up a couple sizes ensures that it will not be tighter than your stockinette fabric. So I just have to knit up my foot, add my German short row heel, and then get up to the leg, which is what I'm retesting on my socks. So if you haven't seen these, this is what the pattern looks like. This was what I knit last year using my hand spun. The black isn't, though. This is Haiku Kensington, which is, it's a luscious yarn. I just had it in stash and I needed a contrast color to knit these when I was inspired to make them. So I grabbed a black yarn that was close to the same weight, although this yarn is like a merino alpaca nylon blend. And I think it even has Angora in it too. So yeah, it's a luxury yarn on my feet, but I do pamper myself anyways. And then this time around, I'm actually going to, and I'll include it in the pattern too, how to get rid of the jogs, because the color work chart is on the side of the foot, which is the beginning of the round. And so if you don't use a technique to get rid of the color jogging, you get this weird connection here in the center of the pot. The original pattern also has baubles in it, which didn't really show through. And I don't know if that's because of my hand spun or what. So I changed that part of the chart a little bit, and I'll experiment with that when I get there. But that is the other pattern I'm working on. And here's what the yarn looks like in the cakes. I wasn't quite sure how much I would use because I didn't really keep track of how much hand spun I had. So I got 2 hanks of Vintage Witch, just in case, and I got 1 hank of Shadow Cat. So these are both Mesa Skeins Heart Worsted. And yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about those. I got this really cool Notions pouch from Fate's Thread a couple years ago, which I absolutely love. It's like a faux leather. It's really thick and durable. So I've been keeping my other needles in there. So I'm knitting these using the Addy interchangeable needle set. And since I do go up and down needle sizes throughout the sock for the color work, I can just pop my tips on and off. So I've been keeping my spare needles in here, and I love it because it's just the right length and it's thick enough. I don't have to worry about them poking through anything, and they fit right inside my project bag. Let's see. That pattern would have been so perfect to be included in the Halloween box. Yeah, it would. The downside to including patterns in boxes is that you have to have so many months in advance to prep because it takes quite a while to design a pattern. The yarn dyer would have to know their collection, send it to the yarn dyers months in advance, or the designers months in advance, so that they would have time to design the pattern and have that ready before the whole thing launched. But yeah, that would definitely be above and beyond if the indie dyed boxes came with patterns as well. But then of course you couldn't just do a crochet pattern. You'd have to get a knit designer to do a knit pattern too. Although with something like that was so basic, you could easily knit that same recipe. Good morning, Marquita. I heard Angora. Could you explain what's the difference in it and mohair? Oh yeah, so mohair comes from the mohair. I always get this backwards. Mohair comes from the mohair goat, I think. I think the mohair comes because Angora. No. Does mohair come from the Angora goat? We're gonna look this up right now because I don't want to be wrong, and it's worth the answer. Because the two goat fibers are cashmere and mohair. And I think cashmere comes from the cashmere goat and mohair comes from the Angora goat. But I always get it backwards. Yep, mohair comes from the Angora goat. So Angora goat makes mohair. Angora fiber comes from the Angora rabbit. The biggest difference between the two is that mohair, in my experience working with it, tends to be a longer staple length fiber. So it has a fluffier aura. It also tends to be a lot more durable than Angora. Angora is typically a shorter fiber, although it can be pretty long. I've seen some long-haired Angora, and it is, it leaves, in my opinion, it's much softer than mohair, and it leaves a thicker aura. So mohair, you can kind of see through the color below it. I don't have my mohair shawl around me, but the simple asymmetric mohair shawl that I designed, you can still see that bright orange and that bright dark reddish orange underneath the black mohair. If I was working with a lace weight black Angora, it would not be as easy to see those colors underneath because it's more of like a, when you work with it, it makes a more denser, fuller halo. And it's like way softer, like unbelievably softer than mohair. So those are my experiences working with the two. But that's a great question. Do you have a sensitivity to Angora rabbit fiber, Marquita? I know you have some fiber sensitivities. Good morning, VJ. Good morning. Lacey, yep, it's Go. I knew it's Go. I just couldn't remember the name because I always get it backwards. Cashmere goat. Angora is the mohair goat. Kid mohair. Kid mohair. I believe, doesn't kid just mean it comes from, let's look this up too. Doesn't that just mean it comes from a baby? Because I feel like that's what that means. Yeah, kid mohair comes from is fiber from goats up to 6 months old. So it means it's from younger goats. So typically, and I think this is the same for sheep and alpaca as well, because you'll see the same thing with alpaca. Their fiber is softer when they're younger babies. So kid mohair, just specifying that it's from a younger baby, which means it's likely to be softer than other, which isn't always the case though, because each breed of animal has a range of softness depending on their breeding. So some merino wool is not soft. It's just some kid mohair might not be soft. It's just giving you an idea. Hello, saying good morning. Angora is usually a bunny, right? Oh, I missed that one. Yes, it is always a bunny. Angora is a rabbit, always. Angora rabbits are so soft and fluffy. Yes, one of my favorite things about a local fiber festival that I go to that didn't happen this year, it's called Fiber Fusion. It's up in Monroe, Washington. There are typically Angora rabbits at the show, and I want to say, I don't know if it's from specifically the Pearly Shell booth or a booth near theirs. I can't remember. I know I was near their booth when the demonstration happened. I got to watch the rabbits being sheared as well as groomed, and they do like a little demonstration about, you know, the details about owning Angora rabbits, which it's my dream one day to own Angora rabbits, but Max came back. I've got some kitties that I don't know if that would go well with them. I'd have to be very careful to keep everything separate. Wait, can you say that again? Oh, got it. Okay. Yes. I don't know which one, but I guess I covered it. But yes, let me get some water. My throat's feeling scratchy. Those were my works in progress. So we're going to move on to check it out. For check it out today, I've got 2 yarn hauls to share off. So I was talking about the New Knitteries exclusive colorways. So because I am a part-time employee with them, I got to send in a favorite color inspiration, have them dye it up, and then name it. And I ordered a sweaters quantity because of course I did. Marcy taped this to the bag, but each hank, when I went to pick it up, because I had to do a custom order, she carries stock of all of the colorways across several of their bases. But because I wanted a sweater quantity, I went ahead and did a custom order, which you can also do at any point through her store. Excuse me. When I came to pick it up, each hank was individually wrapped, and they had this really cute sticker on there that said, "Warning, opening this package will cause extreme happiness." So she recycled all the tissue paper for me, but she's taped the sticker to the bag for me to take home. But look in here. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I ended up going, let's get the bag out of the way. I ended up going up to the new knittery, which is quite a drive for me, especially in traffic, but it's definitely worth it. During their trunk show. So Stardust Fiber Studio was doing a trunk show over the weekend at her shop, and I went up to place this custom order so that I could feel all of the bases. I knew that they would have all of their bases out and available, and I could talk to the dyers about what yarns were in stock, because there are still supply chain issues going on with indie dyer companies being able to get their blank yarn bases from their supplier because they're imported, of course. So I was able to talk to them and be like, okay, what yarns do you have in stock, and what yarns would it be reasonable for me to order a sweater's quantity on and get relatively quickly, and or at least with an end date in sight, because they can only use the end dates that they receive from their suppliers. And so, yes, I ended up choosing their Delphinius Sport Base, which is 100% superwash merino wool, 328 yards per 100 grams. And this yarn is just so gorgeous and unbelievably soft. I will say, when I saw it in person to pick it up, I was like, that's a thick sport weight. Look at that. That's a thick sport weight. So if I didn't read the label, I would have assumed this was a DK weight, but it's not. It's a sport. And I'll go ahead and open up a hank so you guys can see. There is just this lovely, it's like a semi-solid. Oh, it's so pretty. It is so pretty. I love it so much. It is perfectly my favorite color. So when I got the opportunity to get my favorite color dyed, I sent in a photo of a corner of my kitchen. Excuse me. I've always wanted a pumpkin kitchen, and it's really hard to get a pumpkin kitchen because there's only a certain time of year that you can get decorations, and I'm picky about what types of pumpkins I like. I'm not so big on the harvest as much as I am the Halloween pumpkins, and that's even harder to find. But I got these really bright orange curtains and various pumpkin decorations in my corner, and I slowly keep adding to it every year. Eventually, my full kitchen will all be pumpkin year-round, but I'm not there yet. But so I sent in a picture of the corner of my kitchen, and I said, orange is my favorite color. I love pumpkins. Here's my favorite corner of the kitchen, and this is what I got. And I named it Pumpkin Queen, and I'm going to be designing a cardigan with it. Right now, I'm still working on writing up designs that are done and just need to be written, so I'm not allowing myself to even swatch, to even nothing. All I'm allowing myself to do is brainstorm ideas. So I've been wanting to design a crochet swing front cardigan, but so I don't know if that's what this is going to turn into. Jeez, excuse me again. I don't know if this is going to turn into the swing front cardigan or something else. And I also have some ideas on how I might add little pumpkins into the cardigan as well, but I have to swatch to find out. So no guarantees yet, but that's kind of where my mind is thinking. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not allowing myself to work with this at all until I get through my other designs, because writing up the pattern takes a long time, especially for things like cardigans and other garments. And I usually put it off because I just want to come up with more ideas and make more things. So I have a hard time following through. So this is my way that I can stop myself from starting all these things and not finishing them. Let's see here. Catch up in the chat. Mocha's saying, I'm allergic to both, so I don't have a dog in this race. Yeah, sorry, Mocha. That is very unfortunate for you. I do like the mohair, but I really like the Angora. It just can be it doesn't breathe as much as other fibers, so it can make really, really warm garments, which means it really is only for certain kind of climates, unless you really lower that amount in there. The Kensington I was talking about, I think, is only 10% Angora, so you mostly don't even notice it in there. I had a rabbit fur coat years ago, and no, I didn't have any reactions to it, but it shed like crazy sidewalk, and the fibers would float up around me. That is common for both Angora rabbit pieces and mohair pieces. They tend to shed a little bit, especially when you're working with them. It was a very cheap coat, super soft and warm though. Yep, the Angora rabbit fur is super, super warm, and it is super duper soft. My daughter is highly allergic to rabbits. Ooh, I refuse to purchase anything with Angora on it. Yeah, and I know that's the case for some people as well. I haven't looked into it myself outside of the allergy to rabbits. I do know that there was a customer when I used to work at a different yarn shop who was absolutely against buying anything Angora, and they had mentioned they had seen some things that were not good for the animals. And I can't speak on the commercial production of Angora fibers because I have not researched it. I don't know anything about it commercially. I know that these small sold, like if you get Angora directly from a person, they're like, these are my Angora pets and I'm selling their fiber. I know that those Angoras are not harmed at all. There's certain Angoras that need to be shaved. There's certain ones that what's it called when they just shed their fibers, and you literally just comb it right off of them. They actually like that being done. So it's much in the way that shearing sheep doesn't hurt them. Shearing Angora rabbits and combing their fur off doesn't hurt them. But again, anytime anything's being mass produced commercially, there is room for the mistreatment of animals. So yeah, I definitely get that, PJ. 3 guesses on the color. Oh my goodness. My word, that yarn. It is so beautiful. Thank you, Marquita. Thank you, Ed. Yeah, it Stardust Fiber Studio. They are a indie dyer in Washington. They make beautiful colorways. There was a really great interview with them if you're interested. The Knit a Spell podcast is here on YouTube as well as podcast apps, but they have the video from the podcast on YouTube, and they did an interview with Stardust Fiber Studio, and I really enjoyed that interview. Sport weight is my favorite. Yeah, I think this is gonna crochet up nicely where it's not too thick. It's super squishy. It's gonna have good drape. I was going back and forth with the dyers on whether what kind of weight I would want to do. Because at the time, like I wore my Nightmare Before Christmas inspired cardigan up to the trunk show, which was fingering weight held double, which is about the same as a DK weight. And I was mentioning how like I liked it, but maybe it was a little too thick for me. So I'm excited to play with this sport weight. Catherine, I just remember that mohair is goat by remembering kid. Oh, but I don't think that I felt mohair. Is it softer than Angora or is it just extremely different? Yeah. Yeah, I just couldn't remember the name of the goat because they're different goats. But yeah, that is a good way to remember it. And Angora is softer than mohair, like around the board, I think. I don't think I've ever felt a mohair that was softer than Angora. Angora is just a super fine fiber and is extremely soft, but it is nowhere near as durable as mohair. Mohair is a very strong fiber, even though it's got its fluffiness to it. How is the squish? I returned some books to the library. May have missed it. I haven't squished this one. And my Halloween yarn haul that I uploaded, Marquita, I had to cut a part out because I squished one of the fibers so you could hear it, and it was for you, but you couldn't hear it because I didn't plug in my microphone. I was using the embedded microphone on my video camera, and so it didn't pick it up because it's not a good one. But I have my microphone here. You can barely hear it a little bit. Can you guys hear it? I can barely hear it a little bit. But yeah, it's incredibly soft. And I think Marquita's onto something here. If you squish a yarn and it makes a noise, it's probably not that soft. Whereas if you squish a yarn and you don't hear any noise, you know it's going to be super soft. Does it pass? Yeah, exactly. Does it pass Marquita Squish Test? I do think, Marquita, this is a base that you could definitely get away with using. It is extremely soft. I don't think it would bother you at all, and it's super wash, which is even better. And yes, I agree. Angora is much softer than mohair. I have yet to touch a mohair that is softer than Angora. Yeah, so that is Pumpkin Queen. I did order another sweaters quantity of yarn. You guys, somebody stop me. I gotta stop myself. I get all these ideas and I get excited and I've got them all written down. And now I've got the yarn in stash. So I ordered a sweaters quantity of Barocco Remix Light. This is a light number 3 DK weight yarn, and it is 432 yards per 100 grams, and it's calling for a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. This is 100% recycled fibers, whereas it's 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. This is a machine washable in cold on a delicate cycle lay flat to dry yarn. This is in my opinion, a pretty affordable yarn to make a sweater out of. So for me, it's actually not going to be like a full sweater. It's going to be a top. So for me, for this top, it's going to take 5 balls, which is great. And this colorway is 6993, which is their darkest, closest to black colorway. And because it's all these recycled fibers, it has this really fun tweed to it. Now, I have worked with this fiber. I've made a top out of this fiber, and I really loved the way that it crocheted up. It has amazing drape, even despite it being light, and it's a really light fiber. There's a lot of air in this yarn, so it's not dense or heavy whatsoever, which can happen when you're crocheting a lot of fabric for a garment. So I'm not going to give away too many details of the plan, but I have a bat and spider inspired crochet top design that I plan to have out this summer. This is a great yarn for summer garments because it is so light and it's going to be nice and cool. And the design that I have in mind is going to be breezy. So I'm super excited about this design. I have this one more fleshed out. I've sketched it a few times, and I've designed a top similar in shape. So I've already got some of the foundational math ready too. I just have to chart out some of the detail pieces to it. But I'm very excited with how this is going to turn out. Like spooky summer. It's spooky summer. I'm ready. But again, it's something that I'm setting off to the side until I get the other designs out. But yeah, this did come in the mail. I have another sweaters quantity coming in the mail too. It's not here yet. But that's because I've got a design coming out this winter, and I wanted to have a sample of it because it's going to be published and they got the sample, but I want my own sample. So I ordered enough yarn to make a sample for myself. But that's not here yet. So this was 4 of them. I've got another ball. I ordered these from, I think, Love Crafts, and they came relatively quickly, and they came in these really cool bags. So those were my 2 check it outs. So moving on to let's chat. Actually, I should catch up in the chat before we go on to more chat. Right? It's so quiet and soft. The Delphinius Sport from Stardust Fiber Studios. And the Barocco is so nice. Have you guys worked with the Remix Light? They have this remix, by the way. They have it in the light, which is DK. They have it regular, which I think is worsted. And then they have a chunky too, which Marcy actually sent me home with some. Yep, here it is. When I was there, I was talking to her about my designs using Remix Light, and she was like, well, I got this sample of Remix Chunky if you want to take it home and play with it. And I was like, yes, please. So this is the chunky version if you don't like lighter yarn. And for being a thick yarn, it is super light. It's just light and airy. And I think, yeah, I mean, it's 30% nylon, 24% acrylic, and those 2 fibers can tend to be light. It's only 27% cotton, which cotton tends to be heavier. 9% linen and 10% silk. And on the softness factor, right, because linen tends to be a little scratchy, it's next to skin soft. It's not like the super softest, finest yarn you could ever touch, but I find it to be soft. Like, if I closed my eyes and touched this, I would think that maybe I was touching a towel, like a soft cotton towel is how I would describe it. Just coming up with unique ways to describe things over here. Yeah. Very nice. And Marquita is right. The squish test works, especially for people like Marquita who have a wool sensitivity and cannot work with the scratchier, toothier wools. Superwash is a safe way to make sure that's fine, because superwash coats all those fibers that stick out and make things toothy. So they're either chemically removed and or coated with something. So yeah, so you've tried the Remix Light. It's soft. It's so light. It makes great garments. I cannot wait to come up with this design and share it with you all. All right, so let's chat. What I know some of you already told me already, but if you haven't already told me, what are your Halloween plans? Do you have any plans? Do you have a costume? Are you dressing up? Do you have kids? Are you taking them trick-or-treating? What are your guys' plans for Halloween? I know that I am taking my kids trick-or-treating tomorrow. I think every year except for last year, because I was very pregnant and they were with their dad that weekend, they did trick-or-treating with him, and I just stayed home and slept and tried to walk the baby out because she was super due. She was due on November 1st or 2nd, I want to say. She came on the 3rd. But every year except for last year, I take them trick-or-treating around my childhood neighborhood. My dad still lives in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. So we know a lot of the neighbors, and that's really fun when I take the kids trick-or-treating around that neighborhood. So that's what we're going to be doing this year. My oldest is going to be a Minecraft creeper. My middle child is going to be a dragon ninja. It's like a green ninja suit, and I got him the double swords. And then baby Annie is going to be baby shark. She is obsessed with baby shark, just like every other baby and toddler. She's now at the age where she's dancing, and it's the cutest thing ever to put on baby shark and see her start doing the bobs and the sways. So I can't wait to dress her up. I'm sure she's going to hate the costume because she hates the overalls that I made her, the pinafore. She hates that. She hates hats, anything on her head. So I'm sure she will not like her costume, but I'll get her dressed up and get pictures. Oh, and we did carve pumpkins too. Did you guys carve pumpkins this year? We carved pumpkins last weekend, which, because my oldest is 6, my kids really quite aren't there to carve their own pumpkins yet, but I did they did scoop them out themselves. We saved the pumpkins and we gave them to my dad. He loves toasted pumpkin seeds. But I let them pick out their design, and I got one of those like pumpkin carving kits where the designs are inside, and it was like a book, right? But the designs were like this big, and they were kind of intricate. And I'm like, how do you expect anyone to be able to carve this out of their pumpkin? Plus, our pumpkins were pretty big, and I'm not going to carve a tiny design on there. So I took a Sharpie. I let them pick out their design. I took a Sharpie and I just drew it enlarged, and then I ended up having to carve out everyone's pumpkin. So for my own pumpkin, I picked a very basic design because I knew by the time I was carving mine, I'd be tired from carving theirs. So it was a good time. They all turned out super cute. Jack picked out it was a diagonal bat, but the bat had a jack-o'-lantern face, so that was super cute. Emily picked out one that was kind of intricate. The cutout was a cat, but inside of the cat's cutout was like a little jack-o'-lantern. You save that part of the pumpkin and carve like a pumpkin and then carve a face in that. So that was a little difficult, but we got it done. And then so for mine, I just picked like this Tim Burton themed skull. Actually, I bet there's a skull on my pouch that looks similar to what I did. Oh, there's not. But yeah, you know, the Tim Burton skulls that are a little wonky. That's what I did on mine. So let's see what you guys are doing. Ed says, I live in the sticks. Haven't had any trick-or-treaters in decades. Oh, that's so sad. I love getting trick-or-treaters. Kids get so excited to dress up and show me their costumes. My favorites are the kids, the little boys that wear the muscle outfits that they think that that makes them strong, and they're just like, "I am the strongest superhero." It's just the cutest thing to see. So that's kind of a bummer. PJ, my grandson is coming over to trick or treat. He's going. Oh my gosh, he's gonna be an M&M. Is he gonna be the red one or the big tall yellow one? I feel like those are the two common costumes, right? The round red M&M or the yellow peanut M&M. I'm going as a human, of course, Mocha. Kid is taking grandkid to trick-or-treating. I'll give out candy. Well, there you go. It's nice to have someone home. That is the downside to going trick-or-treating at my dad's neighborhood is that we're not home and we always decorate our front yard. So, kids are like, that's how you know if someone's going to hand out candy. If their yard's decorated, they're handing out candy, but then we're not home. So I usually leave a bowl of candy on the porch and, ask kids to respectfully take a little bit. And the candy's usually gone by the time I get home. So who knows if they actually are being respectful or not. Amber, we are going to a toxic Mopar trunk or treat as long as the rain holds off. Well, fingers crossed for you. We wanted to hand out candy, but they aren't doing trick-or-treating in our town. Totally understand why they would not be doing that. But at least hopefully you can do the trunk or treat. Hopefully it doesn't rain for you. I'm pretty sure it's going to be raining here in Washington. It's been raining every single day. I have to take Annie to the bus stop every morning when I take the older two to school. And so I I finally got one of those rain covers for the stroller. She really likes it because even when it's windy, it stops the wind from getting in there and she doesn't get wet at all. But we've got one umbrella and lots of raincoats. Not excited for this winter. Because last year I drove the kids to school because they didn't have buses. The bus system was very, very hard. Like they recommended you drive your kids instead of take the bus because they were trying to keep kids socially distanced, which meant there would be more buses because you couldn't have all the kids on the bus. So we drove last year. This year I've got to do the bus stop thing. No plans, but I might make, pumpkin pie is my favorite. So I always follow the recipe on the back of the Libby's pumpkin cans, which makes 2 pumpkins, and I keep a whole pie for myself. And our kids are all grown, I bet. So they don't really, your kids or the kids in your neighborhood are all grown? Because that's another thing too, because there were years that like when I was a teenager living at home in my dad's neighborhood, we didn't really have many trick-or-treaters because the neighborhood was built the year that I was like in kindergarten or first grade, and a bunch of families moved in and all the kids grew up, and then there were no more kids living in the neighborhood. Catherine, my husband doesn't believe in celebrating Halloween, so we are turning off lights and staying home. We live in the country anyways with 3 houses on our streets. Well, at least you are turning off the lights and so people know not to trick or treat at your house. So I totally respect that. We've got pumpkins. I think the kids and grandkids will carve them tonight. Fun! I love carving pumpkins. It is one of my favorite, like going to the pumpkin patch, carving pumpkins, eating pumpkin pie, pumpkin everything, hence the pumpkin queen. It is absolutely my favorite part of Halloween. So I've been trying to grow my pumpkins, which this year I got nothing but small pumpkins and we put them all over the front yard. We didn't have any big enough to actually carve this year. But next year, hopefully I'll do a better job of spacing them out and adequately watering them. I had issues watering in my garden this year because I planted really tall plants near I have one of the overhead watering systems, and it was messing up the watering the plants. So next year should be better. And next year I want to grow sugar pumpkins, the ones that are best for eating, so I can actually cook and use my own pumpkins in the pies next year. But I hope you have fun carving your pumpkins tonight. Or at least watching your grandkids carve their pumpkins. You grew pumpkins this year, PJ. How did your pumpkins turn out? What kind did you grow? I grew the regular orange pumpkins, but none of them got to full size. I grew regular size white pumpkins, and none of them got to full size. The biggest white pumpkin I got was about this big. And then I grew mini orange pumpkins, and I think that was it. Well, and then I had my volunteer pumpkins that I think were left over from compost last year that grew weird squashes, but they were really fun decorative pumpkins, so that worked out. But yeah, they're like an awkward squash. I carved a pumpkin pie on my, oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love it. The actual pie sign. So pumpkin pie. Nice. Just got our tickets for tonight. I think we will watch movies and eat junk food tomorrow on actual Halloween. Yeah, I told my kids, because I have my kids this weekend. They usually go to their dad's every weekend, but now that they're in full-time school, they're old enough to be in full-time school, I want to try to keep them once a month so that I can on the weekend, so that I can have like actual time to do fun stuff and not just school stuff. So we're talking about watching Halloween Town and Hocus Pocus and just doing all of the Halloween fun things today. And then, of course, tomorrow dressing up. Me and David are dressing up as well. So I'm going as a well, originally it was going to be a ghost. So I got the haunted ghost dress and I've got a white wig, but I really like the witch's hat with the costume. So it's kind of like a ghosty witch with my Lift Your Spirit shawl. And I did my nails. So these nails are from Lily and Fox. I have been wearing their nail strips all October because they're $2.99 and I got enough Halloween designs to basically switch out a design every week. And this is the longest my nails have ever been. And I think it's because these nail strips, which they're not super thick, I think they're like protecting my nails or something, because normally when my nails get this long, I end up breaking one and then I cut them all, but they're going strong. So that's really nice. But this set, I can't, $2.99, you guys. Like, I'm not sponsored, affiliated, or nothing. I'm just in love. This set glows in the dark. This color, it all glows. Like, super bright. So I thought they were perfect to go with my costume tomorrow. So that's what I'm going as. And then David is going, I'm going to butcher this, guys, because I didn't do a good job remembering. It's a character from Naruto. I've never, he watches it in the background, so I've seen pieces of it, but I've never actually sat down, watched Naruto or Boruto. But it's the character that's got like a big robe and it looks like there's clouds on the bottom of the robe, and he's got an orange mask with like one eye. So if you watch those shows, you probably know who he is. Oh, is it Obito? Like, that jumped in my mind. It could be Obito. So he's going to dress up as well when we take the kids trick-or-treating, which is going to be a lot of fun. And Lacey, your haunted house, is it like a big one? Have you been before? Do you know kind of the spook factor? Because around here, we have a ton of haunted houses. We have a Haunted Woods. There's another, some Fright Factory, I think the other one's called. And my youngest brother actually used to act in it. So that was really cool. We went and saw him and I got the bejeebus scared out of me because, of course, they have it set up so that it's nice and fun and you walk through. But then at the end, somehow you're trapped by the chainsaw guys and you have to run away. Like, every time that's what happens, you don't know where they're coming from. You know they're going to be there and you know you're going to end up running away. The only thing I don't like about haunted houses, and they did do it the one year I went to the Haunted Woods, is black mazes. That's not scary to me. It's just annoying. Like, I don't like black mazes at all. I just get mad, especially depending on the traffic of the haunted house. Like, it's just stuffy and claustrophobic and like your people are like groping you. Like, no, thank you. So if I know a haunted house has a black maze, I just am like, pass. And no, thank you. I just like, can we have haunted houses that are just like for the aesthetic? Like, that's what I want. Just like to go look at the aesthetic and not have people trying to scare me. Amber, thank you. Yeah, it rains here in Oregon during the time that, yeah. So you're in the Pacific Northwest, and Ed, your kids. Okay, yeah, your kids are all grown. And I could see that being kind of a less reason to celebrate. I hate carving pumpkins. Oh, is it because of the mess? I love it. A fun fact, my actual original username across many things when I still use the original email was Pumpkin Guts. Like, that was my childhood username, Pumpkin Guts, before Mandobug was my thing everywhere. You grew the sugar pumpkins! Oh, have you eaten them yet? Are they good? I cannot wait. I'm going to do it next year. I'm pretty sure you can eat all other pumpkins, just the sugar pumpkins are supposed to be the best from what I understand. It rained here in southeastern New York most of the night and all morning. At least it wasn't as bad as Tuesday. Wow, 5 inches of rain on Tuesday. So one thing I didn't realize growing up in Washington and then moving somewhere else is that the type of rain is different. In Washington, we're known for rainy weather, right? But it's not always dumping. It's usually like misting and sprinkling, and it will rain all day. And it's just kind of like you can drive in it no problem. But when I moved to Georgia, and I don't know if this is the same for New York, it dumps. It dumps so bad you literally wait inside the grocery store until it stops to go to your car because it is fat raindrops and they're everywhere and it floods so easily. And I used to think, oh, it's because they don't have like the storm drain system that we do because they don't, no, it just rains hard, really hard. There's a whole nother type of rain out there. I think my kid will try and wrangle one of my Halloween diamond art paintings from me, so we'll probably do that tomorrow. Oh, that'll be such a fun time. I have a Nightmare Before Christmas diamond painting I'm working on. I haven't pulled it out in a while because I get nervous bringing that stuff out with baby Annie around. I don't want her to accidentally get a hold of any diamonds and eat them. They're not diamonds, they're plastic, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So I want to eventually get that one done and hang it up in my bathroom. No surprise. My bathroom is Nightmare Before Christmas themed. I'm about to put glow-in-the-dark Lily and Fox nails on me and my daughter. Yay! Well, good luck. I know you said you were nervous about them going on crooked. Just be patient with yourself. Go slow. It'll work really well. Tip is I put them on at night before I go to bed because the longer you can go without getting them wet, the better they adhere and the longer they last. So good luck, and I hope you guys enjoy your nails. Hit the like button. Yeah, thank you, Kim, for the reminder. Anyone who's enjoyed this live episode, hit the like button. Definitely. So it's a big one, and it's supposed to be really scary. This is my first time going, my kid's first time in any haunted house. Oh my gosh. They're the perfect age, too. Are they so excited? I hope you guys have so much fun tonight. Part of the hardest part of going to a haunted house is waiting in line, knowing you're waiting to get scared. Like part of that is scary in itself. Pumpkin Guts is on your YouTube URL. See? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't seen it on there, but I wouldn't be surprised that it's attached. Because, yeah, I still run some things on the background using my Pumpkin Guts. I live in a haunted house. Oh my gosh, that's scary. Grandpa Skelfo died at our front door. Now he plays tricks on us in the house. Oh, so at least it is a haunt in a playful way. You know the haunter. He hides things, plays with lights, opens the refrigerator door, etc. Well, as long as it's not, it's a playful haunt and not someone that you don't know if they're trying to mess with you for not a nice reason. So that's the best kind of haunted house. I was born and raised in the Willamette Valley of Oregon and used to the misty rain. We moved to Arkansas this spring, and the way it rains here, that's what I'm saying. Like when you're used to the Pacific Northwest rain, you think, oh yeah, this is what rain is. And no, like there were times in Georgia that it would start raining and like literally out of nowhere that I would have to pull over off the road because it was not safe to drive. Like even with the windshield wipers going and everything. Mocha, in the summer, there are certain parts of the street we can't park on because if it rains, it will flood your car. What? Just part of summer here in West Virginia. That is nuts. In the summer too? Like we don't hardly get any rain here in the summer. And like we hardly ever have flooding. Usually if there's flooding, it's because of a river as far as I know, because we have I think it's because the systems are set up for the rain, but it might not be. But I do know that there has been flooding around here, and it's usually because of rivers. But that's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. I can't imagine like, oh, we just don't park there in the summer because it might flood your car. Yeah, the rain is different down south. A friend from Maryland thought the apocalypse began during her first thunderstorm here in Alabama, terrified. Yeah, the thunderstorms are no joke. But also there's something really beautiful about them. And they're definitely different than the thunderstorms that I experienced up here in Washington. I did really appreciate getting the opportunity to live in Georgia and experience such a different climate. But yeah, that was everything I wanted to talk about, you guys. I know I'm already over my hour. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I'm glad I got time at the end to chat with you all because that is the fun part about being able to do these podcast lives. So I hope you all have a happy, spooky Halloween weekend if you celebrate. If not, also enjoy your weekend. Hopefully it's full of yarn and crochet and crafts of all kind. And until next time, guys, happy crafting.